Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's Bike Walk Commission meeting for the month of September. I am your chair, Tanner Thompson. In attendance, we also have Commissioners Emily Berneman, Nick Pappas, Christine Bisceglie, and Manny Salgado. We're going to kick off the meeting with public comment as usual. We have some members of the public here in attendance. So welcome, everybody, especially if it's your first time. I like to give people for whom it's their first time at the meeting precedence when giving public comment, but we'll make time for everybody, of course. So if it's your first time here and you'd like to either just introduce yourself or provide public comment, please put your hand up. If it's not your first time, please also put your hand up and we'll call on you in time. Oh, Delene, do you mind promoting Jalea to panelist? She is a non-voting member of the commission.
Sure, I'll do that right now.
All right, last call. Any attendees, members of the public who'd like to address the commission or just introduce themselves? Now's the time. If you'd like to, please raise your hand. Alrighty, hearing none, we'll proceed. I have one item of chair's business and then we'll proceed with the written agenda. But this may come as a bit of a surprise to some of you, but today I'm stepping down as the chair of the commission. I've served the commission for 3 years I've been a commissioner for 4 years since July of 2020, and I've been the mayor appointed me as the chair in the summer of 21, and I've served for the last 3 years, which have been very eventful years. I need a little bit of a break, and I'm really proud of the work that we have done together as a commission. I plan to stay on as a commissioner through the remainder of my term, which is 1 more year. But I need a break from the responsibility as chair. The decision of who the next chair is not up to me, and it's not up to you all. It's according to the city code, it's up to the mayor. But I'm going to be submitting Emily's name as my recommended candidate for the next chair. Emily's been serving as our vice chair for at least a year now, I think. Before that, it was Judd. And Emily picked that up when Judd stepped down from that. Emily has, since she joined, been leading our digital media presence, both the newsletter and the social media, and then more recently has stepped up as a leader of the education subcommittee. Emily also serves on the board of the Norwalk River Valley Trail, which is a key component of our walking and biking network here in Norwalk. And I have full confidence that Emily is ready to take on the leadership of chair. Again, though, it's not up to me, so I'm going to be sending an email later today announcing my decision and also my recommendation of Emily as the next chair. But I want to thank everybody for the energy that you've put into the commission. I hope that you continue to. And I am not going anywhere. I just need to, I'm trying to pare down my responsibilities so that I can keep serving sustainably as a commissioner and in my various volunteer capacities. So in light of that, I've asked Emily to lead the meeting tonight. Emily also took on the responsibility of liaising with Craig to put together this agenda. So I think that she deserves to lead the meeting as well. So if anybody has questions, I can take questions, but otherwise I will turn the time over to Emily to lead the meeting. Alrighty, Emily, take it away.
Okay, I think next up is our the agenda that Greg put together here. We have the TMP and Norwalk Bike Walk surveying residents transit preferences that Kyle's going to talk about next.
Are we doing motions, or I forget how you guys run this?
Do you guys do motions or do you want me to just go? Sorry.
Uh, I don't think we do motions for the agenda, but
Okay.
yeah, I think you can proceed.
Cool. Hi guys, how is everyone? Tanner, sorry to hear that, but also good to hear, all the mixed feelings. But yeah, congrats slash not congrats slash, what do I say? So I'm just going to share my screen real quick. Basically, so as some of you may or may not be aware, I am the traffic analyst for the city. So in my main capacity, can you see a Word document on my screen?
Yes.
Okay. As my capacity as traffic analyst, my goal is to figure out where gather as much data as possible about what's going on in the city for crashes, for vehicle volumes, pedestrian volumes, cyclist volumes. As part of that, we also want to know, where trips are originating from, where they're destined to go. We have some data that backs it up, but it's really heavily car oriented. So I've been thinking of ways to collect pedestrian and cyclist data. And unfortunately, in terms of buying it from the data companies where we buy the vehicular data from, the background data really is not that robust right now, seeing as usually they get it from phones, and phones are sometimes hard to tell whether that's a pedestrian or a cyclist or someone driving, just because they kind of ping the phone and it could move, and it's hard to, they can tell usually what a pedestrian and a cyclist is, but it's hard to tell what a cyclist versus a pedestrian is. So you can split the cars away, but they can't really tell what the people we care about are as cyclists and walkers. So as a proposal to fix that, I would like to conduct a citywide survey and get as much feedback as possible to collect basically what type of what method of travel people are using, whether that's walking, biking, public transit, personal vehicle, carpool, etc. Where they're going, what method of transit they're taking to on their commute, what method of transit they're taking to their places of leisure, and what methods of transit they're taking to where they generally run errands. And we would ask questions such as, what neighborhood do you live in? Let's say West Norwalk. Where do you commute to? Let's say they commute to Sono. Let's say they do most of their leisure in Rowayton, and let's say they do most of their errands in, I don't know, East Norwalk, something like that. So that would be the types of questions we would be asking. The reason I'm bringing it to the commission is basically I would like to do this. However, I don't have a lot of time to do this. I have the ability to make the survey, post the survey, create the questions. Obviously, I'd like some feedback from you guys, but basically coming to the Bike Walk Commission, because if we are going to do this, there's two things I think the Bike Walk Commission can help us with to actually make this a feasible thing. One would be pushing this out as much as possible. I want to, we've gotten 1,000 respondents in some of the surveys we've done in the past. I'm looking for 2,000. Honestly, I want to go higher than that, but I'd love to get as many people as possible. Things we could do could be talking with the schools about giving it to students to take home to do themselves, but also with their parents, getting it on all the social medias, getting flyers in every business in Norwalk, stuff like that. I have some ideas, but I can't do all of that just from a time wise crunch. So I'd like for the commission to help me out if this is something you guys would be interested in. And then the second part of that is I think the best way to do this type of survey thing is to have a financial incentive. Not a lot of money, maybe $50 Amazon gift cards, $100 Amazon gift cards, maybe 5 to 10 of them. So maybe $500. I think this would be the best way to do it. In terms of design of the survey, I'm not thinking more than a 5 to 10 minute survey. Rough idea of a schedule would be maybe design this over the winter and then start canvassing, flyering in the spring and keep it open during the spring and summer, and then maybe do a results analysis in the fall is my rough idea of a schedule. I don't really have a lot else. So if you guys have any questions on this is just a proposal that I wrote up. I wouldn't say any of this is perfect or in any way anchored. And I just wanted, I wanted to bring this up as an interesting thing that I would like to do. However, I do need your guys' help in order to complete it. So I wanted to talk to the commission, see if there was any interest in doing it, and then we can work from there in terms of anchoring everything down. So questions, comments, concerns? Tim.
Tanner?
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. And thanks, Emily. I think this is a super cool idea. Thanks for kind of putting the first version of it together and putting it out there, Kyle. My first question is, what's the state of the data access that we have through Streetlight, the data provider that we have a
So
license for? Obviously, that won't capture like people's preferences. The part of what you're collecting the survey is not just what people do, but what people would like to do and
yes, yep,
what
yep.
keeps people from doing things. But that first question of like what people actually do and where they go, to what extent are we able to get that from the existing data sources?
So on Streetlight, we really only have vehicular data, and I do have origin destinations throughout the city based on that vehicular data. But it doesn't give me the specific like neighborhoods that people are going from. It only gives me an idea of, I don't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head, but it was something like 70 to 80% of drivers are who complete trips in Norwalk are, or sorry, let me rephrase that. 70 to 80% of drivers whose trips originate in Norwalk end their trip within Norwalk. And it's less than like a 3 mile trip or something crazy like that, a 1 mile, 3 mile trip, which is like really good data from our perspective, because that shows, if we can build a better pedestrian network, a better cycling network, then definitely, we can probably convert some of those vehicular trips to more sustainable. I don't want to say more sustainable, more biking and walking trips. However, it doesn't give me exactly where. So this survey would be kind of going more into that idea of what neighborhood are you going to generally, so we have an idea of where to start programming money towards, because we do have a sidewalk prioritization that says we should be building sidewalks on these roads, but it would be nice to have where people are going to add to that prioritization to kind of show some background data.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to be specific with my question,
yeah,
when it comes to cycling and walking data, are we getting nothing from Streetlight or just very,
yeah.
very rough data?
We don't have any data of that data from Streetlight. I've been looking into data sources for that. Although Streetlight offers it, I don't trust the validity of that data set based on what I've seen. Just
Oh,
because
interesting.
yeah, I don't trust that it's not that it isn't saying what it's showing. I just don't trust that that number is a true representation of what's going on. If Streetlight says there's 20 people that make this trip that are walking or biking, we don't pay for that. But if they do, I have reviewed a demo of that data. I don't think that their 20 is actually accurate. I think it could be, I don't know the range, it could be off, but I think it could be off in an amount that I would not be comfortable with using as a data set.
Gotcha. But even if it was, like currently we're not paying for that.
Yeah, we're not paying for that.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
I have
Yes, Emily.
two quick questions on the two things that you mentioned that we can assist with here. So pushing and spreading the word, I see, if you wouldn't mind zooming in a little, I think I see somewhere where you're thinking anyone over the age of 14 should take this survey. And you mentioned spreading it through like the public schools. I know there are PTA groups that will walk and, bike their kids to school. Is this something where you're also collecting demographics or would want to collect demographics of who's answering the survey?
So that's a good question, Emily. I thought about that. And I think it kind of depends on how much space we have in the survey. I want as many people to take the survey as possible. And I think if we start asking demographics and contact information, that type of stuff, it gets a little too far away from the topic of the survey in terms of the amount of time someone might be willing to take on it. If we make a survey that we all agree looks great, we get all the data we want in terms of collection from the volumes and the types of travels, and we can still fit that type of stuff, that would be great. But I don't know if we're going to be able to fit that in a survey that is, able for someone to take within 5 to 10 minutes. Just because I don't think we're going to be able to get I don't think we're going to be able to get a good enough amount of people doing this if it's like a 20-minute survey is my main concern, basically. So, but it's also something we could consider, and it's also possible, maybe we do separate surveys in the future as well. So,
Perfect.
If I can comment on that, Emily, I think like really granular demographic info may be out of scope, like Kyle's describing, because of length reasons. But in order to make sure that the data, if we're really trying to get data that's really useful, we're talking about Kyle was talking about getting answers on the order of thousands of responses. I think it's really important to be able to speak to how representative the data is, and without just at least some high level demographics, I'm thinking like race and
Mhm.
age, maybe zip code, maybe
Yeah.
income category, but
So
at the
I'm
very least, race
also
and age.
I'm also thinking, Tanner and Emily, of doing the neighborhoods based on either zip codes or census tracts, and then we would be able to bring that data and connect it to that as part of that. So I was thinking of doing a way so we would have some demographic data. Obviously, it wouldn't be perfect, but it would give us an idea. So
Yeah, just my point is at a high level enough to make sure that the survey is representative.
I
makes
saw
sense.
Julia and Manny also had their hands raised, and Christine. Julia, if you had anything you wanted to ask.
I was just going to actually ask about zip code, because I know when we collect data, it's a great way to sort out the different areas in Norwalk. So you guys answered my question. Thank you, guys.
Yep, gotcha, Julia.
Manny.
My question got answered too. I was just curious if there was a region that the survey was trying to focus on, but it seems like it's broadly all of Norwalk.
I would like to be citywide, Manny, just because, you know, we do have, we know in South Norwalk and West Ave and Wall Street that we have to do this. I don't know where in like West Norwalk or Silvermine that I need to do this. And I would like to, you know, I'd like to know if people are making 1 mile trips in Silvermine, maybe we should be more focused up there than we are currently or something like that. So, Christine?
Oh, thanks, Kyle. So you just mentioned Silvermine. So two things. But the first one was the title of the. You said this is just a mock-up, a rough draft.
Yeah.
Got bike walk survey. I don't think that's.
Yeah. So I have the actual title is whip under my title thing. So yeah, that was something I was going to work on in the future. I don't want it to be I don't want it to be have the term bike walk in it. I want it to have like a transportation method, preferred transportation method, or something, or commuting method, something like that. So that, because I want to get vehicular drivers as many as possible, so we understand where their trips are going, as well as maybe we get in that, you know, vehicular drivers who are willing to walk or bike and why they're not willing to walk.
Right. And
So.
Listen, since you're on this meeting, so I thought I had this on the agenda, but I didn't see it. I'm not sure if it got on there, Greg, but about this meeting tomorrow about Route 7 and the Silvermine up there, that big DOT, state DOT. I don't know. Is that on the website? We can talk about it after.
It's on the agenda, Christine.
Oh, thanks, Greg. Sorry
Yeah,
about that.
and Christine, I'll be there tomorrow night if you have any. I'm not presenting, but I'll be there tomorrow night as well. So,
Oh, thank you.
does anyone have more questions on the survey slash, I guess, agenda discussion if you guys are interested?
I just have one last.
To answer, sorry.
No problem. I was just going to say one last quick question on the financial incentive. What was how much you anticipate budgeting for that?
I think, Emily, $500, and it would be either, I think, 10 $50 gift cards or 5 $100 gift cards, I think would be fair-ish in my opinion. I feel like that's what most other surveys usually of this type usually do. So
thank you.
Yep. Tanner?
Yeah, just to respond to Christine's thought, maybe the word mobility is a good fit for this study, right? It kind of has like connotations of walking and biking, but doesn't exclude driving either. Like maybe mobility preferences could be a working title.
I like that. We gotta workshop it a little bit, but I think that's definitely going somewhere we might want to use. So, so I guess I'll let you guys go into discussion now, or I don't know if this is now a discussion item. Basically, I guess my question is, are you guys willing to put in, you know, the man hours to do the legwork, you know, to really get this out? Obviously, you know, I'll help in terms of getting that as part of that, but I definitely need as many hands on deck in order to do this the right way. And I don't think this is something I should be focusing on unless I can get a confirmation from you guys that this is something you guys want to focus on. I understand if that's something you need a couple meetings to discuss. And if you have more questions on what this exactly would be, feel free to ask. So
I just want to, so I guess having it translated into Spanish would be important as well.
For sure. Yeah, I had that in my notes in scope. Yeah.
I saw we had one public attendee with a hand up, but their hand's no longer up. Andrew Sinclair. Yep. If you can, Eileen, can we have him have audio to ask his question? Thank you.
So, I was just wondering, you mentioned you were trying to find what people were doing with their trips. But you also kind of mentioned as you're going through trying to figure out why they were doing it the way they were in the method they were doing. And I was curious how you were planning on doing that and trying to get good data on that as well as why they're not doing it in other via other methods.
So Andrew, I'm not going to be asking why they're doing their trips. I'm just going to ask, what is your commute / journey to school? What is your errands, trips? And then what is your, leisure trips? And then I'll, ask basically what neighborhood are you coming from? And then what neighborhood or neighborhoods are you going for these activities? And then what was your second, part of that question? I'm sorry.
It was extended off of the first one. It was why aren't you doing it in other forms? I thought I had heard you say that, so I apologize. I must have misheard.
No, you're good. Other forms of what do you mean? I'm sorry.
Other forms of transport. Why are
it-
you driving? Why aren't you able to walk this thing? That kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to ask those questions, of why don't you ride your bike to here? Why don't you walk to here? I'm assuming most of the answers will be lack of sidewalk, lack of infrastructure, lack of feeling safe, those types of things. So we will ask those questions as part of it as well. Or I hope to be able to ask those questions as part of it.
That was all I had. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks, Andrew. I guess so Kyle, to answer your question too, I'm definitely interested in helping do this, and I wonder if other commissioners are interested in getting involved with, helping with this project. In terms of next steps, would it make sense to bring this up in our next meeting or have a separate meeting so that we can see which among us would be willing to help start getting this in order? I know the timeline you said was, having something ready by winter in order to start in the spring and summer.
Yeah, so
Does that sound good to you?
yeah, I think you guys, if you want to talk about it internally and figure out, if there's any of you that want to specifically work on this, and the rest of them could be people that would be interested to sign up when we do more of the canvassing and the news. But if there's like 2 or 3 that would be what's your quorum?
4?
Tanner? 4. Maybe there's 2 or 3 that would be interested as like not a subcommittee, but as like kind of focusing on this to give me like what the Bike Walk Commission would like, and then we could have possibly monthly updates with the meetings on how it's going, and up until the late winter when we then present. I think for the next time, whether that's in October or November, I think my goal would be to have some draft questions and a draft survey. And then we go from there in terms of what questions we like, what questions we don't like, and style and that type of stuff. So, Tanner.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in participating, and I think that my experience in data analysis, data science is relevant. Kyle, question for you: do you have the bandwidth to like essentially be a project manager for this, or are you hoping to have the Bike Walk Commission like toss it over more or less entirely to us?
So my thought on this was this is going to be the city's survey. However, I'm going to be having Bike Walk help me with the promotion of the survey. So I'll probably build it just because I will build it. I will review it with you guys as part of a review process. You guys say, do we like these questions? We don't like these questions. Maybe we should change the order to this. Maybe change the order to that. And then So then based on that review process, we move forward. And then once we get to the public outreach, then it would be kind of like, I would say, hey, I want to get to these people. I want to get these people. So you guys would then bring up, I think we should go to these people. We should go to these people. And then we work together more or less to figure out a distribution method that gets it out there. So I'm pseudo project manager so I envision myself as project manager and you guys somewhat as a stakeholder group that is helping in the effort for this, if that makes sense, Tanner.
Yeah, but like a reviewer,
Yeah,
like a first class reviewer.
yeah. I guess that makes sense. I do want to say the city will have final say in the questions that go out, but obviously I want your guys' input to make sure that the questions seem fair and logical. That's fair and logical.
So as pseudo project manager, what would you like from the commission?
Ideally,
before the next meeting?
so I'll build the survey, right? I'll show it to you guys for review. You guys review it. Let me know what you guys like, dislike. We can go through that process, how many iterations we need to do. And then I would, come the winter time, I would expect you guys to, we'd have a meeting that maybe we determine what groups we want to take a look at, or what groups we want to distribute this to, whether that's businesses, schools, et cetera. And then from there, based on that, I would say, hey, I want you guys to go and canvass these businesses. I want you guys to go talk to the schools and try to get them to put the flyer in the school, stuff like that. So I would be, I guess, both project manager and project designer at the same time, if that makes sense to you. So, yeah.
Cool, thanks for the clarity.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to stick to our time schedule here. So are there any other commissioners that would be interested in working on this project? Aside from Tanner?
Yeah, I would. I mean, just
Christine?
basically what Kyle just said, go reviewing it at the next meeting or whatever, questions, yeah.
Okay,
I think this is great, and up the alley for the Bike Walk Commission. And so I'd be glad to be a part of the outreach efforts and making sure that it gets distributed to people.
Cool.
great.
No,
Thank you, Kyle.
No, you're very welcome, Emily. Thank you guys for listening. I think since most of you are interested, I'll definitely move this forward. I don't know if I'll have something to review for October meeting, but maybe for November meeting, I'll have a survey with some questions and we can discuss that in a little more detail then. So I really appreciate everyone's time. I think with that, I'm done. So I'll see you guys later.
Thanks, Kyle.
Bye-bye.
Okay, next
Greg.
on the agenda is Greg. Greg with the Active Transportation Micro Grant Program update.
So before I begin on that, Emily, I just want to take a moment and express my gratitude, Tanner, for your time as chair. I know you put in a lot of work. We've had a lot of discussions, and you certainly kept us on our toes, and had some good discussions. So we appreciate you, being the chair, and glad you're staying on as commissioner because you still got work you got to do before you step aside. So not happy to see you go as chair, but whoever the next chair is, I'm sure will, have big shoes to fill. So whoever that may be. So, but we appreciate your efforts as chair of the commission during your time.
Thank you very much, Greg.
So getting to the micro grant, Nick, I appreciate you filling that out for us and making those changes for us. So we did end up submitting to WestCog. Because it came through the city, WestCog did need it to come from the city in order for it to sign off on. So it was somebody from the grants coordinator was the one that was able to sign off on it. So they took your application, signed off on it, and submitted it to WestCog. Otherwise, WestCog wouldn't have accepted it if it just came from the commission because it came from the municipality. So I wasn't able to sign it. It had to come from the designee that could sign off on something like that. So the grant coordinator was in a position to sign off on that. And then once, if of course we get awarded the funding, then the funding then will have to go in front of a committee and then common council for approval of the funds, similar to any grant that we've received Whether it's $5,000 or $1 million, it's the same process that has to be followed throughout the city. So, and then from there, once it's approved, the mayor will sign off on it to accept the funds from there, and then it'll be readily available, for the commission to utilize, much as your budget is now through the TMP department. So that's how it will be set up. But it was submitted. So we do have a little bit of time before that deadline was, which is in a couple weeks. But it's already submitted. We have, they've already confirmed. So hopefully all goes well and you guys will receive the funding.
Great, thank you, Greg. Can I ask what day it was submitted? Do you know offhand?
So it was submitted last week. Back my email real quick here. I want to say it was last Thursday. So September 5th.
Perfect. And do you know when we should hear back? I know you said there's a few more steps that need to be completed here and the mayor signs off for the funds, but should we anticipate a date to hear back?
I'm not
whether or
sure
we-
because it first had to be submitted to WestCog, and then WestCog will formally submit it in October. So they were due by the 23rd of September to WestCog, and then they'll supply that grant to DOT the week after. So not sure how long DOT takes to award this type of grant funding. So could be a month, could be 2 months, I'm not sure, but they do it quarterly, so I don't expect it to be like a 6-month drawn out process to examine it. Plus it's only, $5,000 or so. So it should be awarded pretty quickly, hopefully. So this way we can order the items that you guys wanted to purchase.
Yeah, thanks so much for the update, Greg.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Greg on this? If not, I'll move on to our next agenda item, which is the recreational trails grant. And Tanner, I assigned you to this just to kind of give an update on where we left off and just make some clear next steps on how we want to proceed with this grant.
Yeah, so where we left off, I think, was an exchange that Greg and I had in the last meeting, which I think the onus was on me to follow up on that, and I have not done that. But to summarize where we are, the Connecticut Recreational Trails Grant had a deadline back in March. I don't believe that DEEP has announced. DEEP is the organization that the section of the state government that administers it. I don't believe that DEEP has announced another round, but I've heard through the grapevine that they are likely to. And so personally, I would like to be on top of that because specifically of the opportunity to submit a grant application for money to study and design a section of the East Coast Greenway connecting South Norwalk from the train station south along the old railroad right of way, and then ultimately to Rowayton and to Darien, to connect in with Darien. So there's a couple pieces here. We need TMP's help to put together the application, in particular to get a statement of work. I think that involves liaising with one or more consultants to get an estimate. It also involves building political support, because we're going to need a local match from the city that will probably come through the Common Council. That was one of the sticking points last time we tried to do this. And then if we want to, the vision last time we tried to do this was to do a joint application with Darien. In order for that to happen, it's not critical, but it would be quite useful, both in terms of like building the vision of what this trail can be, and also in terms of the grant. I think from what I've heard from experts, grants that include joint submissions from multiple towns tend to be more successful. So if we want to do this in tandem with Darien, we would need buy-in from Darien. That would probably have to come through their first selectman, whom I've met with. He indicated that he wanted to see some more support from the people of Darien, so we would have to work on that and find and demonstrate that support, or maybe if we can find people in Darien who could do that work instead of us, that would be even better because it would be organic. So that's kind of the picture that we're looking at. Greg, am I missing anything obvious?
No, so I guess I just have a couple questions because we haven't seen like the application, like what you're asking, like, yeah, it's planning and design, but we were under the understanding it was going to be more like a feasibility study. We didn't realize you had a route already chosen.
But we have an idea of a route, and but it's obviously non-binding. Like that's part of the idea is that we would hire a consultant to like study and find a route that would actually be
Right.
feasible.
I think, but I'm saying just for the scope of work, like if you look at Stanford and Greenwich, their application had 30, 60, 90, 100% design on top of planning as well.
Yeah, if
than
we
just-
could get money for that, I personally, I would like to do that all at once.
No, I know, but I think what we were looking for is more a feasibility study, saying that we have, our desire is this route, but we're giving the consultant the flexibility to examine other routes as well, based on right of way, land use, origin, destination, traffic generators.
Yeah, I think we're agreed that that would need to be part of it. But are you saying that TMP's preference would be to do only the feasibility study?
Correct, yes.
Okay, I mean, ultimately, I think that is up to you because you're the ones who would be executing on the grant. The advice that I've gotten from other people in Stanford and Greenwich, and then other people involved with the process, is that if we can get two things done at once, that's better than getting one thing done. But that's just advice that I've heard. That's all that.
I mean, it's all
basically-
different. Like they had a route that they desired. I don't know if we really have a route that we all desire, especially we haven't really gone public with the route yet.
Mhm.
Also, I don't know, is this all within the public right of way? The route that you desire?
No, it's not. Although
That's
some of it
that's
is-
the other thing. As part of the application, you have to have
yeah.
your stuff together if it's in the right of way, and if not, you need approval from the property owner.
Yeah, that's work that is in process though. A lot of the property owners are amenable to this. I mean, I can talk to you and
I don't know. So that's the
Yeah.
thing. We don't have any of those approvals, and I know you're taking the lead on it, and we.
well,
we
I
guys
was to
do
be
it.
clear, I don't think that I'm taking the lead on this anymore. I kind of burned out the last time that I tried to take the lead on this, and personally, I'm not interested in picking it up again, but I would like to see it picked up again. Emily has expressed some interest in leading this from the Bike Walk Commission side, and I'm happy to advise. But given how much of the project ultimately is going to be executed by TMP, I don't think that I can. It probably needs to be driven. At least the technical aspects of it, the nuts and bolts of it, need to be driven by TMP.
Yeah, we don't have the ability to do that, especially leading up to the application right now. We felt you guys can engage the consultant, come up with a scope of work, and then we would just, you would provide us a draft, we'll review it.
We can engage the consultant. I thought that was explicitly something we weren't allowed to do.
No, you can engage, you can reach out to any consultant that you want.
Okay, then I was misinformed on that.
Yeah, because you guys are driving the application process. You guys create your scope of work, what you want. But I think the biggest thing is from our point of view is this should just be a feasibility studies to give the consultant a flexibility to look at different routes and not just this is our route, we want full design. That's also going to keep the cost low because we don't have the funding for the match. So you need to come up with how much you're asking for the grant and then the 20% match. So in order to make that happen, you'll have to request that funding in next year's budget cycle.
Yeah, okay, so it sounds like the order of operations here is that, first of all, the Bike Walk Commission needs to decide what exactly we're asking for. And TMP's suggestion is that we ask for just a feasibility study. And then we are empowered. There's no reason that we can't reach out to a consultant or more than one consultant even, get an estimate, and then do the math and figure out how much, based on that estimate, would need to come from the city, go to the city, get some assurance of, ideally, in the capital budget, an allocation under, as a line item under TMP, right? Like ultimately that would have to go through TMP too, right? Because the way the capital budget gets instructed is that all different departments submit their requests.
Yeah, it would all have to come in, but you also, in order to submit the application, you're also going to need council sign off as well. Like the Greenwich had the Board of Selectmen sign off endorsing the project. You know, they presented it during the meeting, they endorsed it, and then they were able to supply that to ensure that it's going to get funded. Because the last thing they want to do is.
Did that happen before the application though? The one that was like in the news was like way
Yeah.
after the fact. It was when they were accepting the grant money.
No, but it was in the application that they endorsed it. So if you look back at their
Okay.
application in
So like
November. of
essentially a letter of support,
2022,
you know, analogous to a letter of support.
Yeah, in November of 2022, they brought this as an item. It was a public meeting. The public could have commented, and the Board of Selectmen all endorsed it and approved it, and they submitted that as a letter of support for the grant. Because the program's not going to approve it without having approval, because last thing they want to do is award a city the grant funding, and they go in front of common council or whoever the governing body is, and they
Yeah.
say, no, we don't want it.
Gotcha. So the way that that is usually done is by having a vote of endorsement from the
Correct.
council.
But it will help if you already have a dollar amount. So I think the first thing is to create a scope of work to provide to a consultant, because the consultant, the first thing they're going to say is, what are we doing? What are we
Yeah.
providing you an estimate of cost?
Maybe that was the sticking point. Last time we tried to go through this is because with I felt like the best thing the Bike Walk Commission could do, given that we're all lay people, is to kind of take what was in you know, some other successful grant like the one that Greenwich did and you know, copy paste without
It's a
some
little
advice
bit of a
from you guys.
different case with Stanford Greenwich, because like I said, they had a predetermined route. It was 2.6 miles. Yeah, they engaged a consultant. They give them the estimate of each and every for their scope of work and every subtask associated with that. So, you know, they had planning work, which is data collection, right away, you know, survey, anything else that was associated with that. And then they had a design portion, which is that 30, 60, 90
Yeah.
final design.
Mhm.
So that's where their scope is. For a feasibility study, we're going to create it a little differently, but I think that's because we don't really have a predetermined route, like this is the route and we're going with it. You understand what I'm saying?
I do, but I still feel like there's still a sticking point, which is that nobody on the Bike Walk Commission knows how to really create a scope of work for a project like this. Like we could
get
maybe
it.
put together a bad one. Maybe if we engage a consultant, they can advise us on that. But it seems like we need a little bit of advisement from TMP, just like in putting together, like just knowing what words to use, for example, and like
Well,
what.
that's where when you guys submit the application to us, a draft, we can review it, but we don't have the ability right now to take this on right now as a staff. We just don't. We don't have the ability to even create a scope of work for you guys, engage with a consultant. We don't have that ability right now.
So what's your advice then?
Is to have you guys take it on.
So you think that despite being lay people, that we could create a scope of work that a consultant would take seriously and give us estimate for?
Well, if you look at Stanford and Greenwich's and see what tasks they have, all the subtasks they created, you know, their data collection process, what they're asking for, any right of way, you know, that they're trying to collect, you know, so, you know, look at other, you know, we were asking for this route, but we're giving the consultant the flexibility to look at other routes as well within the city to make that east-west connection. You know, does the consultant find a better route instead of the one that we provided to you? I know it's an interesting case, and I understand that, you know, you folks are not, you know, experts in this and you don't do it for a living. I get it. But TMP as a department right now just can't take on this work right now. We're stretched way too thin. And it's nothing about staffing. It's just a very busy time right now. At least until the, you know, to the end of this year, it is going to be very busy. Especially
Okay,
during
Emily,
construction season right now.
Emily, are you understanding this all? Do you see where we're coming from?
Yes, I see where we're maybe a little stuck, but I think that, you know, keeping this at least conversation going is good. It sounds like from what you're saying, we need to find a way to either create a statement of work or find a consultant that can help us create an estimate for this sort of work. It sounds like TMP may not be at this time available to help us with that step, but we can, you know, resource outside of our commission here to find someone that would be able to help. But Christine, do you have something you want to add?
Yeah, well, two things. One, how do we pay for the consultant? And two, Isn't the meeting on September 23rd in Darien, I mean, in Stamford with Jerry Silbert's meeting, part of this also conversation?
I can comment on that. So the meeting with Jerry and others is a meeting for the coalition of different advocates from different towns who are all trying to do the same thing that we're doing with varying levels of success and progress, right? Stamford and Greenwich are already farther along in this process in that they've already submitted a grant and won it, and they're starting to use the money to hire a consultant. But we are not as far along. And so, yes, meeting with these other advocates, maybe they could connect us with some resources. Maybe that's the way that we get around this stuckness, is that we find somebody from one of those towns, whether it's an advocate or a professional.
You do have a good amount of budget left for this fiscal year. So if you do have to, $1,000 or something for a consultant to advise, you do have that as well.
You're talking about advisement just to help put the grant together.
Well, no, just the estimate or whatever, whatever you guys would need help on, you do have some funding to help. If you're asking for a consultant for an estimate or, some sort of, guidance on this, as well, to help you get that cost estimate, and if they are charging an hourly rate, then you do have some budget to spend on that.
So just to be really concrete about this, your suggestion here is that we take Bike Walk budget, use it to hire a consultant to help us create a scope of work that we then ask the consultant to give us
No,
an
I'm
estimate
just
for.
saying in case the consultant, if you want a cost estimate, I'm saying, okay, you create the scope of work and you ask the consultant to, to provide you an estimate of how much it's going to cost to do it. And if they were, I don't know if they are, if they do charge you to provide that estimate, whatever it may be, you do have some budget for that. I'm saying.
Okay, so you're saying that potentially the contractor could charge us just for the estimate.
They could. I don't know. It all depends. I don't know what, it all depends. They may not. It may be a free estimate. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that's commonly referred to as a retainer fee.
Okay.
So I get this is a little bit of a different case. I understand that. It's just from our view, we just can't take this on right now. We can't dedicate the time as a staff to delve into another grant right now, especially when we've just been awarded all these projects over the last couple of years that we're moving forward right now. All the funding that we've gotten, and it's just too much right now. And we're trying to get these projects that we were awarded done. And that's where we're trying to make our push towards.
Understood. Tanner and Christine, I know you two are working on this, and I'm happy to assist as well. And I know our next step is to connect with Jerry Silber at that meeting in September. If it's okay with you two, maybe we can have a smaller group discussion on this to keep the conversation going.
Sure. Like I said, I'm happy to advise, but I don't have the bandwidth to drive this.
Okay.
And if something does come up, if anything does come up where, you need advice or something, we'll gladly assist with that. If you guys are stuck and have a question, we're happy to assist in that regard. And then once you do have everything all together, submit a draft, we will review it of the entirety of the application. We'll provide comments, and then, we'll move it forward, we'll sign off on it and submit it.
But to be clear, Greg, would you be willing to review a draft statement of work or scope of work statement?
Yeah, I think that'll work because we need to make sure that it's aligned. We're all aligned. So yeah, I think the draft of work statement would be fine as well.
Okay, because I think that we could put together a bad one. I just don't think we could put together a good one.
And this way we're all aligned because I think, we've discussed this. I don't think we're at a point where we can ask for a full design application right now. I think we need to examine what other routes are there.
Yeah, how do we get the Greenwich and the Stamford plan?
I have
do we
it.
get?
Yeah,
I have a copy of it. I can send it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. The application isn't overly complicated. It's just more of the scope of work and getting the estimate to complete the work from a consultant. That's going to be the hard part because you have to ask how much money. It's a grant where you have to ask for, I want $500,000 for this grant, and it's going to cost $500,000 to execute the application that we're asking for. But then there's also the 20% match, so we need to know how much that 20% is.
Okay. So just in an effort to keep to our schedule here, I have our next agenda item, if it's okay with you, Greg, to move on to the league. I brought up Christine and myself to talk about this, and it's just very quickly for those joining who don't know. We are a member of the league, which is the League of American Bicyclists, and last year we applied and got an honorable mention for the city of Norwalk. And with that, we hold a membership. Christine on our team is a league certified instructor, so she has a certification with this group as well. And I'm bringing them up today just because they have two things happening. The first is the this is not it, the National Bike Summit, which they have a date, which is going to be March of next year. And I'm bringing it up just to start the conversation around possible attendees from either our group or interested volunteers, or I think Tanner, remind me, I think you went one year with another member of the city of Norwalk.
I haven't ever been to
remember
this.
that.
You might be recalling, I went to a 2-day seminar taught by Jeff Speck in Cambridge, in Massachusetts. With
Oh,
how it works.
I got them mixed up. I'm so sorry. You're right.
I don't.
This was not-
Every
it was
year we
not
do
the Bike
talk about
Summit.
going to the bike summit. And as far as I know, no one ever has.
Okay. So that's part of the reason I wanted to bring it up. But I know on our SMART goals, our strategic plan, we are looking to get another person certified to be a league certified instructor. There is a class that's opened up that'll be in New Haven from April 4th to April 6th. So I just wanted to get this on everyone's radar, whether it's one of our commissioners or one of our active volunteers or a member of the city of Norwalk or one of our partners. I know like Brianna from the New South Norwalk Hospital would be, I think, a really good candidate for this sort of certification, but I just wanted to bring this up. And then Christine, if you had anything else you wanted to add about the league or the National Bike Summit or these classes.
Just that, it's in our budget to be a member of this group, and also the summit is now virtual as well, so I did attend that virtually. It was very, very helpful, I think, and I brought back information, meeting with the legislators and stuff, so I would love it if somebody, so in order to take this class that you've shown, well, we don't have to talk about this now. And maybe they changed it, but in the past, there were prerequisite was to take the intro class, which I could teach to anybody who's interested, and then they can go to this. But we can talk about that later because we have time.
Okay. The other question I just have quickly, and I don't know if anyone here has the answer to it, but as our member of being or an honorable mention of a bike-friendly community, I believe we may have to reapply or renew that honorable mention, or at least if we want to improve our ranking. I'm not sure if that's something that we need to, start an application for again, but I wanted to just bring that up in case that was the case. I think we renewed our membership, but I'm not sure if we have to submit a new application for retaining our honorable mention or not.
I mean, I'll speak to that. I don't think so. It doesn't seem like that would be the case. I also want to take this opportunity, like Greg did, to thank Tanner for, Tanner, your leadership over the 3 years. I mean, you stepped up when Nancy stepped down and nobody wanted the position. So, and you've managed your full-time job and showed up. You've completed this application, which was very lengthy, mostly single-handedly. You had some helpers, but so I just want to acknowledge also your leadership and thank you very much for that. I'm glad
Thanks,
you're still on board.
I should give kudos to Ben Handpeter, who's not here tonight. I think he's out with COVID, but Ben was instrumental in getting this application across the line when we did. So thanks, Ben.
Okay. That was all I had for the bike league. I guess for next steps there, I can just make a note to see or do a little outreach to see if we have any interested members of our community that would be willing to engage with them or possibly become a league certified instructor. I know that's a goal we have, is to get either one of our commissioners or another member in our circle to get that certification. So then next on the agenda here, I have upcoming events and bike valet. Nick, I have you just on the schedule to talk about the bike valet status and any upcoming events that we could possibly get into for hosting a bike valet program.
Yeah, I'll get into that. So as of the last Target event that we had, which was Oyster Festival this past weekend, we were not able to do bike valet, and that was due to some new information for me anyway about our certificate of insurance not being applicable to the event, and I was trying to get a little clarification as to why it wasn't applicable, but I don't think I really got it. But I think I would like to ask Greg for some support there, because what I could understand at least is I was getting the impression that our insurance through the city could only apply to city events, and any non-city or i.e. private events would require us to purchase insurance through said private event, because the city could not honor such a certificate in the event of a non-city event. And I think all of our target events for the year are considered private events. So I'd like to get some clarification on that. And I'm wondering, like I said, if Greg, is that something that you can support with?
Well, so Nick, who told you? So the Seaport Association said this? I didn't see any emails from them, so I don't know what their response was.
Just give me 1 minute. Let me pull up that email.
Yeah.
I'm pulling it up too. I was CC'd on this, but Greg was not. Who's Anastasia Christophorides?
So she's in the law department for the city. She's
Yeah.
legal.
She was the one who initially responded with skepticism, but my read is that she was getting the wrong impression about what we were asking for.
Yeah, because the city doesn't oversee the Oyster Festival. That goes through the Seaport Association. So I don't know if what the Seaport Association said, that the insurance wasn't valid. So I don't know what the context was.
Yeah, nobody from the Seaport Association chimed in except for at the very end, somebody chimed in and said, "Can somebody call me and explain what's going on?" Basically, two different people from the city chimed in and said the Seaport Association, or sorry, Oyster Festival is not a city event. I think the whole thing was just confusion.
Okay. Yeah, so I thought it was going. I thought you guys reached out to the Seaport Association after that, emails from Parks and Rec and with the legal department.
So Greg, yeah, the emails for like this not being a city event were from Anastasia Christophorides and Ken Hughes.
Yeah.
And I think after Mike Riley from the Seaport Association asked me to, or asked someone to call him, I'd revisited the conversation and added you. So you were added later on in the thread, if you will. And so, yeah, that's kind of where that left off.
All right, I thought you guys had a separate conversation with the Seaport Association. I didn't, because I would have said the same thing. You have to go through the Seaport Association. I didn't realize that they were included on that. And I thought you guys already had done that when we issued the COI to you guys.
Yeah,
so it was already in discussion.
I think the issue was that we had the COI already, and the question should have been to the Seaport Association, is this sufficient? But instead, some people from the city were copied and thought the request was, can the Seaport Association use the city's insurance? And they were like, well, no, because it's not a city event. But that's why I'm saying I think the whole thing was confusion. For next year, I think the order of operations should be, and I'm saying this so that I can step back and I don't have to manage this again. Get the COI from the risk manager and then go to the Seaport Association, because at that point, I don't think anybody else from the city needs to be involved.
No. And actually really should be even before you get the COI, talk to the Seaport Association, you know, early in the summer and say, what do you need from us? This is what we want to do.
I think that Nick did that. I think we did that, and they were like, well, you need proof of insurance, which is the same thing that every organizer tells us.
No, I know, but if we had all that, we could have gotten it. That's what I'm saying. If we had
We
all
did
that.
get it.
No, I know, but they turned it away when you gave them the COI. They said this
No,
was
they didn't. The people from the city misinterpreted the ask and said this isn't going to fly.
Yeah, I have a completely different interpretation of what happened than you do, Tanner.
Oh, wow. Okay. What do you think, Evan?
I think that the representatives from the law department were essentially saying that this certificate of insurance that you're providing to the Seaport Association is not something that can actually be honored in the event of a liability, because it is not a city event.
Okay. Nick, can I talk through this offline with you afterwards? I think that there's some details here that are too detailed to get into in the meeting, but
Yeah, that sounds good.
okay.
Yeah, and just let me know what you guys come up with, because I'm confused by it as well. I'm not, you know, an attorney, you know, so but let's figure out a better path for next year. Because you know, I know you guys want to do private. Are there any other private events that you guys are looking to do?
I mean, we already did the Nice Festival and
We targeted Sono Half for this year.
and yeah, the Sono Half Marathon.
Okay.
But then the Nice Festival went off without an issue. I mean, the weather was
The
tough.
legal department involved in that situation.
Yeah, that's true.
And I intentionally got them involved. I just was looking at the people who I was speaking to last year.
Okay. Well, Nick, I'll just call you after this meeting and we'll talk through the details.
Sure thing.
Okay, just to confirm, so the next upcoming bike valet opportunity is with the Sono Half, which will be Sunday, October 6th. Is that right?
That is the target.
Okay, thank you. If that's it for bike valet, the next item on our list to talk about here is the health walks. And then Jalea, I assigned this to you to kind of talk about the Sono Library event that we did. But I also want to quickly mention another walk that I think the health department is involved in, the wellness walks through the CT State College. And I believe there's one happening tomorrow. I don't know if you can share more about that too.
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually have been partnering with the Sono Library, as Emily stated, to do some walks with the community, just community walks to get people out and walking. And we've had pretty good success with them, especially compared to other walks that we've been hosting, because we were trying to get people to walk before the summer concert series this summer, which was very unsuccessful. But we do have our next walk. Emily attended our last walk, which was still pretty successful. The very first walk that we held with the Norwalk Sono Library and the Norwalk Police Department, I believe it was like 25 to 20, I think 23 to 25 people attended, which was amazing. And then we've pretty much been hitting about, I would say, 10 to 15 people per walk. We have another one coming up in September. And I think it's September. I'd have to double check the date, but it's on our Norwalker page. And then we actually have partnered with Connecticut State College Norwalk. The old name is NCC for all of you guys. But we have a Norwalker walking route there at the Norwalk Community College. I'm sorry, Connecticut State College, and they've actually had some funding to purchase signage to go around the campus to mark where the maps are, so people can actually scan the QR code or look up at the signs and pull it up on their phone. And the signs also just guide them. So we're doing like an official launch tomorrow at 12:30 at Connecticut State College, for if any of you would like to attend. The more the merrier. And we're going to do a walk and then a ribbon cutting to kind of celebrate the signs and also have people aware that it's there. And then later on, we'll actually be adding on some a QR code with some exercises. So people, while they're walking, they can do some stretches or exercises. I think some of the signs are going to be stretches, and then some of them will be simple exercises that anyone can do, like in-person body weight squats, where you don't need equipment. You can just do it right there, just to encourage people to walk and just do other exercises as well. So I am not 100% sure if the mayor is coming tomorrow as well, but I welcome you all to come with us for tomorrow at 12:30.
Excellent. Thank you, Julia. Yeah, I look forward to joining, and I hope the mayor's there. I've been seeing online that he will be, so.
Yeah, Julia, thank you. I'm looking on the website. I don't see the September walk date. I see the walk at the beach calendar, but not the other calendar.
I'll take a double look at that because it should be up there, the new walk. I'll look at that, Christine, but it should be there.
Okay,
Sorry.
and then the
I
other
apologize.
thing, no, that's okay, because I'd like to do it. The other thing is, as a commission, I think we've talked about this before, but to support these things and when we can, I mean, I worked on it, but also if we can have like a t-shirt, like a real official, like commission t-shirt when we're at all these events, you know, that it's out who we are. We've had one before.
Yeah. And that would really help us with promotion as well. So the more support, the better for everybody. And I think for, the September walk, we can send it out to you guys. But if we can have a bigger presence, that'll be great.
What day is it? Day. Is it a weekend?
No, they're usually the weekdays. Let me take a
Oh.
peek in my emails really quickly, and I'll let you guys know in one sec.
Well, that's okay.
But they're
'cause-
usually at 10 a.m.
Oh,
Sometimes on Tuesdays.
okay,
so let
no,
me
I
just
think that's
double check.
impossible. It's hard for the people who have the jobs.
Yeah, that's the one thing I was also considering is the weekend. I was thinking of if we should start hosting walks on the weekends, considering those that have 9 to 5 that can't attend, because right now the population we're mostly attracting are individuals that are retired. So yeah.
And Julia, I would support that a lot. Like if we used to do that here on the commission, we had one of the commissioners that did this. They went on the walks, they held walks like on the weekends. I mean, it's something we should be thinking about. And maybe
Yeah.
If
So
we
the
have
next
the
day-
walk maps, yeah.
The next day will be September 25th, which is a Wednesday at 10 a.m. And I can send this flyer to either Emily or Tanner for you guys to send it out to everybody if that's okay, so that you guys have it. But we typically we have it on our website, and then we usually promote them on social media beforehand.
Definitely, Julia,
If you find
send it my way.
somebody, if you find somebody like that's showing up regularly that wants to partner, I would co-host a walk on a Saturday or a Sunday morning, because this is the nice weather now. It's not too hot. If we can get this to be like a social event on using the
Right.
the Norwalk walk maps. I don't
Yeah.
know, you know?
Absolutely. And we currently actually are partnering with, so for the Sono Library Walk, we partner with the police department and also a woman named Jackie DeLeese. She's a mindfulness coach. So during the walk before and during, she actually teaches everybody about mindfulness while you're walking. So it's really, it's an awesome thing. And I've made some connections and so has Emily. So we can further discuss maybe like a group. I would love to have like an ongoing group for September, October, while it's not, like you said, Christine, not too hot.
Any other thoughts, Christine? Okay, perfect. I'll make a note to bring that up in our next educational committee meeting. Also, that kind of ties into my next little item here, which is NTA. Jeff Sure was on here earlier. We talked about doing either a tree walk or a tree ride or a tree pull gathering in October. So we may be able to tie that event into one of these walks with the health department, Julia. I know we had tried to coordinate a bike ride, but I know that gets into an insurance thing. So maybe we can incorporate them into a walking program in that area. So I'll just make a note to bring that up in our next educational committee meeting. The other thing I have on here is something that, Greg, I don't know if you would like to speak to this, the proposed Route 7 improvements public meeting that's going to be tomorrow at Cranberry Elementary School.
So DOT's the ones that are hosting it. So a lot of members of TMP in the city will be there, but DOT is the one that's spearheading the project and will be presenting and taking comments. So of course, we encourage all of you to attend and see what they're proposing. It's just a concept plan that they're gonna present tomorrow night. So nothing formal, but you know, please attend and provide comments. This is the Route 7 portion that runs from the end of Super 7 at Grist Mill all the way up to Kent Road in Wilton. So it does impact a good amount in Norwalk itself. So and there is the link on the agenda brings right to the project website, providing additional information.
Yeah, it looks like Greg, I saw, thank you for having that on the agenda. And you can submit an email up until September, I think, 24th.
Yeah, usually they do at least 2 weeks of additional comment period through email.
Yeah.
If you don't attend, you can attend tomorrow, or if you have more comments that you think of afterwards, so you can send it via email to them.
Great. Any other questions from commissioners on that? Okay, great. I will move on to the educational subcommittee update. Manny, I don't know if you want to take this on.
Sure, and you can include any additional information that I might be missing. We have a tentative meeting set for Wednesday, 9/25. Emily had thrown out 2 dates to some partners, and I think it's looking like 9/25 at 5 p.m. is our next date to discuss the bike walk and roll. We reached out to some people, and they mentioned that I think some of the things that we heard is that like the schools themselves sign up, right? And so that the angle that Emily has tried to take is more on the sense of like how we can promote the event versus like us actually hosting at one of the school sites. So correct me if I'm wrong about that, Emily. Does that sound pretty accurate? Just kind of given the conversations that we've been having. And then one of the other things that we are going to move forward on is filming and putting together a video that talks about what the Bike Walk Commission is to inform just the community about who we are, what we do, and how you can participate in it. And so that's something else that's in there. I'm trying to think if there's any additional conversations that we have, if there's anything that I'm missing that Christine or Emily can speak about.
Yeah, I mean, you've covered most of it. For those who don't know, we're supporting the Safe Routes to School program that hosts a Walk and Roll to School event on October 9th. We had over 13 schools from Norwalk, Connecticut register last year, so we're trying to encourage and promote the schools again to register and host their own bike rides and walks this year. So Manny took the initiative and connected some of our contacts with the public schools. Julie and I, when we met earlier the other week, we talked about reaching out to PTAs to see if we can further engage with them who already have little groups that walk and bike to school to see if they know about the event. But yeah, all we're really hoping to achieve here is to support in promoting and creating those safe routes to school programs for this event on October 9th. The other thing was just quickly to add here, Julia has been able to update our website with the details I sent over. I think there were some edits I still need to get her way, but I think our website is now updated with fresh content that's on the Norwalk Health Department site. So like Manny was saying, we're trying to create a video, a short clip of what the Bike Walk Commission is and what the purpose of our commission. And we'll hope to get that on the website when it's ready. Okay, and I guess kind of with that, our next item here, the Norwalk Pedestrian and Bikeway Transportation Plan. I briefly spoke with Tanner, who assigned this as kind of homework before to read through this document. And I noticed that there is an existing sheet of information with comments from previous commissioners on updating this document. So I wanted to kind of take a next step in that task and quickly review what we can possibly be working on there. I had this open somewhere. Tanner, I don't know if you want to add anything there or
Well, I
point
can
a
summarize where I
direction
left
on-
this off a couple months ago.
Yeah,
So I think I brought this up in July, maybe June, I think July. The reason for bringing this up, the fundamental reason is that keeping the bicycle master plan and the pedestrian master plan up to date are the number 1 and number 2 responsibilities of, maybe 2 and 3, of the Bike Walk Commission in the city charter or in the city code. The ordinance that established the Bike Walk Commission gave us explicit responsibilities. There's 7 of them. 5 of them are shall do and 2 of them are may do. And the education and public outreach work that we're doing falls under the commission may do X, but there's some responsibilities that we are specifically instructed to take on. And 2 of those are keep the pedestrian master plan up to date and the bicycle master plan up to date. And that's something that we haven't been doing. And that when I brought this up a couple months ago, was trying to address and help us catch up on. There is the official pedestrian and bicycle master plan that we have is from 2012. It was done by a consultant. I'm not sure how the money was obtained, but the city paid a consultant to come in and do a bunch of stakeholder meetings and inventory the city and come up with a design guide, or not just a design guide. Come up with a pedestrian and bike master plan. The plan is a document that's like 100 pages long. It includes multiple sections. One of the sections is a design guide, or rather a description of a whole suite of tools that can be used. This is obviously going to be superseded by the design guide from Complete Streets once that's done. But another very important part of the pedestrian master plan, perhaps the most important part, is the actual concrete recommendations for prioritization. If I recall, the 2012 plan divided all the city streets into 3 different buckets, like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. And for tier 1, there were somewhere around 25-ish, maybe 30 streets in that category. And for each one of those streets, the plan provided a detailed recommendation for how to make those streets more friendly for pedestrians and cyclists. When I brought this up a couple months ago at the meeting, I had started an inventory, and I think I got maybe halfway through looking at how much of those recommendations from the 2012 plan in that tier 1 category have been put into place. And the number that I arrived at was somewhere around 35 or 40%. So there's real progress that's been made, but there's still a lot that hasn't been made that is left over from 12 years ago. So that brought me to this year, where we've made so much progress. So many things have changed in the city that I think there's a good argument to be made that sometime soon we should do this whole process again from scratch and engage a consultant again. But the real question is, what do we do between now and then? Because that requires money. Money requires budget allocation from the city. That's not something that we can just like do tomorrow. And if we make a recommendation to the city that we should spend money hiring a consultant to do this, it should be a very informed recommendation, and it should be based on work that we also have already done. I think that if we haven't done any work on this, we can't really in good faith go to the council and say, hey, can we have, you know, a few $100,000 to hire somebody to do this job that you assigned us and we haven't done. So that brings us to the request that I made a couple months ago, which is I invited all the commissioners to, and this is, I think, either a suggestion from Greg or somebody else from TMP, I think, who was here. I think it was you, Greg, suggested that the first step is that we should all read the plan. And so that was the invite. And I think that still stands. I think that it would be very useful, maybe even like fundamental for all the bike walk commissioners to have read the bike ped master plan that we have. Obviously, because it's so old, I think that's the main reason that I hadn't read it until I did. But it's still important, I think, that we are all familiar with the, you know, what the city has on the record as our official bicycle pedestrian master plan. And then Emily, this document that you found, you said this is from 2019, right? These are just some collected notes from commissioners from a few years ago about how the plan could be updated, but I don't think that was ever finalized. It was never, you know, voted on and recognized as like an official update to the plan.
Right. And the reason I'm bringing it up is I liked the breakdown of it. So I know like reading it, the work in its entirety is important, but I think if we wanted to, like you said, either engage a consultant or move forward with it, there's definitely pieces of it we should be able to comment on. And I know it's been over 10 years since this has been updated. So I think, you know, just in terms of tiers and changes, there's a lot of content in here that we can, you know, say has been done or completed. And I think you said you took a stab already at it at tier 1 and something around 30 to something percent. But yeah, there's like between now and what you said with engaging a consultant, what would you think would be most useful aside from just reading it or being able to leave comments, or what can our commission do to help make a clear path forward for updating this document?
Yeah, I don't have a great answer to that, but I think the reason that it's so important that we read it is because the next step after that would be to figure out how useful it still is. If there's still quite a bit of use in this document, then maybe we don't need to you know, throw it out and start a new one, but we can update it incrementally. If you all read it and you get the impression that like this, you know, this is like irrelevant, this is completely irrelevant because the city has changed so much and we do need to start over. It would be really useful to know, you know, where people think we are on that spectrum. I think it is also probably useful to finish this inventory that I started to figure out like how much of the plan is done. Although Greg, has TMP done any sort of work like that? I seem to remember you guys also having a number.
For the projects that have gone through the bike ped plan,
Yeah, like how much of the plan is done?
we have not, I
Okay.
haven't at least, I haven't.
Then I think that would be good work for the commission to do, is to finish that inventory so that we can authoritatively say the plan from 2012 is X% done. I think, you know, that's a question that the council would ask us, right? If we go to them and say, hey, we want to do this again, they'd say, okay, well, you know, what's the state of the existing one? How useful is it? And how much of it is done?
Okay, so Tanner, just quickly, how are you doing that? And is it something that any of our other commissioners here would be interested in helping, or volunteers from outside the commission?
Yes, I have a Google Sheet. I can even show you what it looks like here. I just pulled it up. Where are we? Okay, so can y'all see this? Let me zoom in a little bit.
Oh yeah, thank you.
So there are 16, I overestimated a little bit. There are 16 streets that are in that first category, the tier 1. And I have them listed here, and it looks like 8 of the 16, so half of them I have scored. with like a completion percentage. This includes the recommendations include recommendations for crosswalks, for sidewalks, and for bike lanes. And so I'm scoring, for example, Westport Ave, the plan recommended 14 new crosswalks on Westport Ave. So far, we have installed 6 of them. So that's 6 out of 14. Same with sidewalks. They suggested 12 different kind of segments of sidewalks. So I said 12 points are possible. They've done 7 of those 12. So if you add that all up, that's 13 out of 26, which is 50%. And so then all of these get averaged together for an overall total of 40%. So but this isn't done, right? I've only gone through and done half of these.
I was about to
So-
say some projects that are in the process right now for some of those roads.
Yeah, so I guess that's another dimension to this, right? There's the question of getting it up to date once, and then there's the question of keeping it up to date. And maybe figuring out a way to give us partial credit for stuff that's in flight. Or breaking that out to say what's done, what's in flight, and what's not done. That would be useful. If we could say the plan is 40% done, but once the existing projects that are in flight are done, we'll be at 55% or whatever it is. That would probably be useful. So yes, Greg, good point there. So Emily, does this answer your question about what I've been doing?
Yes, and I didn't realize you were doing this, so this is good to know. And I think it's important to keep this as up to date as we can, and it's something we reference as a Bike Walk Commission, and like you said, it's one of our priorities is keeping this updated. So I think if this sounds like the right approach to you too, Greg, getting some of our interested commissioners or volunteers to work on this sounds like a good priority to me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think just getting to know the document itself as well, even if it is aged out a little bit, still important to know and just see the progress that has been made, and looking at just the list of streets like West Rocks Road. It's being designed right now. Highland Avenue was completed 2 years ago. Fox Hill Road is set to get new sidewalks next year. MLK, we just got the RAISE grant for. So things that are moving along. As part of Rowayton Avenue, sidewalks installed.
So Emily, can I make a recommendation?
Yeah, please.
I would recommend that we find some volunteer, ideally not me, to finish out this document. I'm happy to advise, but I want to find a new owner for this, specifically for this document. Well, I don't know, maybe I'm still trying to figure out exactly what I can and can't take on sustainably. So if there's somebody who is excited about this, who thinks that this would be a good fit for them, I would love to hand it off to them. If there's not, maybe I can take this on. Christine, I didn't know you had a cat. Thank you for introducing your cat. But I think that whether it's me or somebody else, we should finish this estimate, and then we should have either as a separate meeting or as part of the Bike Walk Commission meeting, some time set aside to go through this with somebody from TMP, and so that they can correct any mistakes that we made and also inform us about what's in flight, so that we can then kind of put the stamp of approval on this work is done. We have an estimate that TMP signs off on.
That sounds good to me. I don't know if this speaks to anyone in our current attendees or a commissioner that would like to lead this at this time.
I mean,
But if-
I love stuff like this. How would I know? Where would I get the info? And Greg, I hear you loud and clear. You guys are taxed out, but
Christine, the way that I did this work is a combination of going out with my bicycle and using Google Maps and Google Street View.
I mean, but there's a whole lot of roads that are not on here, right? That there's been improvements done too, no? These were just ones that we.
Yes, but the goal of this exercise is to figure out how many of these roads, because these were the ones identified as the top priority streets in the 2012 plan. How many of these streets have been done and to what extent they've been done? How much of the 2012 recommendations, how many of the 2012 recommendations have been completed?
I mean, I could probably do this. I just need the code here, Tanner, we could talk after.
Yeah, I think that probably the best way to do it then would be to set up some time where I can just meet with you one-on-one And, we can go through one of these together,
Yeah, sure.
so that you understand the methodology, and then I'll let you loose.
Okay.
Great.
If it's okay with you both, I'd love to be a part of that meeting too.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Emily,
Excellent.
can you set that meeting up?
Yes, I can. No worries.
That is the thing that I am the least good at in all of the stuff I did as chair.
No problem. I'll make a note to set that meeting up between you, me, and Christine for that. I know we're a little over time and I don't want to rush through our last things here, but we have two more things to talk about. One of them is the bike share program, and then the other is the Open Street event. For the bike share program,
Yeah.
Tanner,
Do you want me
since
to
you're
just give a
already
quick update?
sharing, yeah, go ahead.
So I've given an update on this before. Nothing has happened since my last update, but Emily asked me to recap for everybody. I met with Emily and I together met with the mayor and with Garrett and Jim last year as just kind of a sync to catch up on what the Bike Walk Commission was working on. And one of the things the mayor brought up that surprised me is that the mayor asked us to restart the work that was done several years ago by the Bike Walk Commission to bring a bike share to Norwalk. Back in 2018, 2019, the commission got pretty far along and even had a contract that was in the works with a vendor. Unfortunately, the vendor went out of business and the contract fell apart. But the mayor asked us to pick that work back up. And I did a little bit of work there. I had a couple working group meetings with a couple members of the public, attendees to the Bike Walk Commission meetings who were interested in helping. And we set up a couple different meetings with a couple different vendors just to start collecting information about how they operate and what their cost structure looks like. There's some outstanding action items, mostly around funding. We would need to figure out like what the most feasible funding model is in the city. So that's work that I took on, but that I have dropped the ball on. So and in the spirit of most of the comments I made today, I need to find a new owner for this, probably. So if there's somebody who's particularly excited to take this on, I'd be happy to give you a download and again kind of be in an advisory role, but I don't have the bandwidth to like drive this.
And yeah, just a little history recap too. Like there was Tanner, I don't know if you have it pulled up on your end, but I was going to pull up the deck that was put together. The city of Norwalk was very close to having a bike share program, like Tanner had mentioned, back in, was it 2019, 2017 or something? But yeah, they got to the final steps there. And the reason I'm bringing it back up is because the city of New Haven has just recently released an e-bike rideshare program that went live, I think, last week. So I thought it was a good opportunity to kind of investigate how they proceeded with that, and then how we as the city of Norwalk can continue that effort on our end.
Yeah, do you want me to? I have their website pulled up. Do you want me to share that?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
I can also I can speak secondhand to this. My wife, as some of you know, is a student at Yale, and she earlier this week, or I guess last week, was able to use one of these bikes to get from the train station to campus, and she said it worked very well. The e-bikes are easy to use and fun. And the pricing structure is about what you'd expect. It's kind of expensive if you pay per ride, but it's really cheap if you get an annual membership. So like if you live in New Haven and you're comfortable on a bike, this is kind of a no-brainer. They have the map up here. I think you have to download the app to see the map, but there's something like 100 bikes and they're all electric.
Greg, I don't know how much involvement you had in the previous bike share program that was presented to the city of Norwalk, but is there, in your opinion, I know we kind of talked offline about priority. I know it's not really high up there right now, but in terms of like next steps that would be helpful for the Bike Walk Commission to take here, do you have any insight or recommendations?
So when I started, that's when I was part of it briefly. So I kind of saw that it was already in place, but then I saw it crumble. But the thing is it's the funding. Where is the funding coming from? I think New Haven is being funded through their parking. I don't know if it's their parking authority, but that's how it's being funded. So I think the biggest thing is how it's funded. I believe the last one was being done. All funding was going to be provided through advertising through the vendor. So I think that's just the biggest hurdle, how it gets funded, you know, on that end.
Are any commissioners interested in taking initiative on this at this time? If not, Tanner, I will meet with you to see how we can keep this moving forward
Yeah.
and maybe seek additional outside help.
I know that a common
Well,
theme here is that,
stuff, actually, I'm interested.
Nick, you're interested?
Yeah.
Sweet. I was gonna say it's a common refrain that there's a lot more work to be done than it seems like we have bandwidth to do, and part of that is because we have a couple vacancies. I am when I send my email tonight announcing my resignation from chair, I'm going to attach some resumes of candidates that I've been collecting to recommend for these positions, and I have more resumes than there are vacancies. So hopefully, cross your fingers, we will be filling these with some new blood.
Great. Okay, so I think that's it for bike share program. Last item on our agenda here is the open street events, the biannual event. Christine.
No, yeah, we can, it's getting late, so I just really, just to keep this on the, you know, keep it on the agenda, like to make this at least a biannual event, and we've talked about it before, one in the spring, one in the fall. Obviously, it's too late for this fall, probably, because of everything that's going on here with all this work that has to be done. So, but that's what I would like to see, and not to make it like the big event that it was, like, you know, just that it's gonna be like kind of a routine event, if we can. And I know we have those hurdles to go through, those, you know, committees, but it's not that big a deal. We make it a well-oiled machine. That's it.
Love it. Thank you. I guess since we're a little over time, can I entertain a motion to adjourn, or should I ask if there's anything else, or I'll just entertain a motion to adjourn?
We just have to approve the minutes from last meeting. That's okay. That's okay.
Thank you.
Cool. Emily, can I make a quick announcement? Quick plug?
Yeah.
One of the reasons that I stepped down as chair is to make sure that there wasn't any conflict of interest between the work that I do on the Bike Walk Commission and the work that I do for Sustainable Streets, a group that shares a lot of its mission with the Bike Walk Commission. Sustainable Streets is having a happy hour this Thursday from 6 to 8 at Beer Garden 314. The public is welcome to show up and network with other like-minded individuals.
Perfect. Can I make a motion to approve the minutes from August 5th?
Wait a second. I can.
Oh.
Yeah, I'd like to move to approve the minutes. I read them.
Great. I'll second.
I have to abstain, I wasn't there.
All in favor, I guess. Okay. Minutes are approved with a quorum. Can I entertain a motion to adjourn?
I will move to adjourn.
Seconded. Manny, thank you. Okay. Thank you all for joining tonight. Yeah, we'll see you at the next meeting, and thank you, Tanner. Bye, everyone.